Hello everyone, my name is Aneta and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm an artist and I love creating both digitally and traditionally. You're watching now my own Inktober 2020 series called Fairytale on Shrooms, where I draw things that are closer to what I like and are not as random as the official prompt list. This challenge was scheduled for the month of October, but I didn't want to rush and make pieces I didn't like, so hopefully it will end at the end of November, although on YouTube it might take a bit longer. The theme of the sixth day was mermaid. I was wondering whether to add her to the list of prompts because I have a soft spot for mermaids in general. I really like the aesthetic related to sea, shells, colors. Even drawing a mermaid tail is so much fun as there are no specific canonical proportions. You can really experiment with it. On the other hand, I felt a bit guilty for approaching the subject the way I did. It felt too simple for me. Back in 2018, I participated in Mermaid, which is an event that takes place in the month of May, where you need to draw a mermaid every day. I didn't finish all mine 31 mermaids, and I probably never will. And although I gained some momentum on Instagram, at some point after this event, I reached out to some people that I admire in the art community to ask for some feedback regarding my gallery and skills in general. And they suggested me to change the subject a bit in order to create more variety. And I agreed with them. I think it's okay to draw whatever you want and however you want, but you also need to work on expanding your visual library. In a way, you need to push yourself in order to improve. So all that considered, I think these feelings came back when I painted this mermaid, and I don't know, I felt a bit guilty. But maybe creating this pressure wasn't necessary at all. For this drawing, I decided to use sepia instead of black ink, and I really enjoyed the flow of it. I used Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay ink. Recently, I have noticed that kneaded eraser is incredibly popular in the art community, mainly because it allows you to gently wipe off pencil without having all the dust on your desk and without damaging the surface of the paper. Unfortunately, in my case, I can't quite convince myself to the kneaded eraser. I still prefer the traditional one. It is invasive and it also rubs off the ink. This is why when I draw, I apply the first layer of ink with a very thin fine liner, and then after rubbing off the pencil, I apply the final lines. I still use kneaded eraser sometimes, like when I sketch, but I wouldn't be able to give it a full-time job, and it's sticky. At least mine is. As you can see, I'm using masking fluid to cover the layers that I would like to keep bright and not necessarily white, because at the end I can apply a thin layer of diluted ink again, which will cover them and give a more natural impression of the point where the light falls. I mean, that would be the best case scenario. The reality is that I often help myself with gouache because sometimes, things go in a different direction. Next prompt was eclipse. I liked the sketch I made, but I'm not sure if I should have worked on the idea a little bit longer. Overall, I found the sketch simple enough for me to use the fine liner from the get-go without making an additional sketch, which turned out to be a bad idea because at some point I made a mistake and started to cover it up with new lines. So these patterns on the body are not intended and they don't communicate anything. The halo effect around the circle was made with masking fluid, and additionally I put white gouache, but I'm not sure if that was entirely necessary. Overall, I wonder if I might repeat this drawing, maybe one day, who knows? I have the original sketch, so I could try to come up with it again, I guess. Finally, I added some rays and painted some white eyelashes on my character, and I think they spoiled the whole effect. The third topic was wand. I thought to change the subject and draw a guy. I've also been very inspired by the tarot cards from the Dragon Age Inquisition game. I'm not a big fan of the game itself. I mean, it was okay, but it's none of my favorites. However, I was fascinated by the illustrations and concepts that were made for it, and they are a huge source of inspiration for me till this day. Also, for this illustration, I decided to use more geometric forms, and I had to draw a female element somewhere. I came up with the idea to make a face out of the wand, or shall I call it staff, and create a certain relationship between the owner of the staff and its powers. I don't know. I'll leave this painting open for interpretation. This year I discovered that the Winsor & Newton waterproof black ink has a very warm shade. I noticed it when I scanned the artwork and corrected the colors in Photoshop. The browns just popped. I could have turned the drawing into black and white mode, correct the values, and I would have a proper grey, black and white Inktober drawing, but I like the original version more. When it comes to applying ink, I try to think about the whole process in terms of layers every time. I usually start with the most diluted ink and cover the entire surface. This way the paper is able to absorb subsequent layers of ink faster, and it gives me an idea of the overall effect I want to achieve. It basically creates a color base for the entire piece. In this case, while I'm using only one ink, this is not mandatory, but if I had to use color, it would give me an idea on the mood of the entire piece. That's it for this episode. I hope you liked the video, and if you want to see more, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!